I don't know what it is. Like, yeah, in the car, or sorry, showering for some reason. Like, I'll never forget when I had one of my punchlines come to me there that's done. It's a joke that's done well for me for a long time, and I can like specifically remember being in the shower going like, yes, yes, finally figured it out, and that's the perfect line. I can't wait to try this. And then it actually worked, which was
Yeah.
nice. Sometimes you have those moments. You're like, this is the perfect punchline, and then you say it, and they're like, and
You're like,
that was it. That was
yeah, that's it.
uh,
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is season 6, first episode of Willfully Funny. And my guest this week is Ottawa-based comic Kyle Mesdag. So welcome, Kyle. So glad to have you here.
Hello, thanks for having me, Simone. I'm pretty excited to be here, and yeah, excited to do the podcast. Be the start of
Awesome.
season 6.
Yeah, season 6, episode 1. Yay. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, can you share your social media information?
sure. I'm on Facebook just as Kyle Mesdag, and then on Instagram as Cal Mesdog. So KalMezdawg. Because
Okay.
I needed a little street credit, so I had to make it sound cool.
Sound cool. Okay. And I will include those in the show notes. So
Sure.
thank you for that. So this is you told me this is your first time doing a podcast, so I am honored that my podcast is your first appearance on a podcast.
Yep.
This is
It's
great.
very exciting. Yeah, I always thought that I maybe needed to have one as a comedian, but I just always liked doing stand up, and I was never really one for. I don't know. I never tried it. I don't want to dock it till I try
Yeah.
it. This is my first
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah, I never
see how it
thought I
goes.
would have one either. Like I never, yeah, never really thought about it before, but um I can say that in the 3 years and the 6 seasons that I've done, it's it's helped me. I think it's helped my stand up just with like spontaneity and thinking quickly on your feet and things like that. Stuff that we already develop as
Yeah.
comics, but it's
Right.
just a different, just from a different angle now,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I feel like
So
I could see how it would be really beneficial with like talking to the audience, because like you want to steer them in the direction that you want them to go, as opposed to them sort of coming out from all
yeah, and
over.
dragging you off in some direction.
Yeah, where you're like,
Exactly.
I don't know how to respond to that. I guess I'll use that. I'll just say what they said back to me and then freak out for 3.5 seconds and then say whatever comes to my head and hope that it's hilarious
Exactly.
or somehow leads into my next joke.
Right, exactly. Hopefully they throw something out that's like, oh yeah, I can use that to continue
Yeah.
instead of like, what the hell? It's
Yeah.
true. It's true. So we've worked together a few times. I haven't seen, I was trying to remember the last time I saw you.
I
And
think I don't think it was I know I saw you at Abdullah when Abdullah was moving to Toronto. I saw you that night at
oh yes,
kind of like
yes.
a get together.
Yes, that was in the market. Yeah,
Yeah,
that back in, was that April, March or April
something
or
like
something?
that.
The spring.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that. I did because I knew I saw you because you were one of the judges
Oh,
at
the summer
the absolute
last year.
competition
Right.
last year. But I was like I'm sure I had seen you since then.
Yeah,
I
I can't
think.
remember. I've been not as around. Like I was trying to do one set a week, usually at Absolute, and then I would throw my name in at Yucks for the new talent showcase. But I've just been trying to. I'm ready to leave my old material behind, but at the same
Okay.
time, I'm not ready to start bombing completely. So I either need to just take the plunge and just suck for 6 months as I work out some new material, or just like use what I have and then somehow work the new stuff into it. And I haven't decided where I'm at yet, because I just I don't feel like great about myself when I do my old act. I'm just like I'm done with this. And
Yeah.
like I don't know if you've ever seen Talking Funny on YouTube. There's it's like Louis Seinfeld, Chris Rock, and Ricky Gervais, and they talk about doing stand up. And Louis has one comment where he talks about a bit being like a fruit, like it gets ripe and then it kind of goes sour. And that's
Mm.
I feel like I've been in the sour stage for like years now, and I
Oh,
just
really?
yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around it and decide what I want to talk about as well. Like
That's the
back in the
thing.
day, I used to just write any joke, like anything that had a punchline that got a reaction was fine. But now I kind of want to be, I kind of want it to be a little more artsy or something, like a little bit
Mm.
more personable. And
Yeah.
sometimes I find I try to make it too much like that, and then it's like it's not funny anymore. It's not comedy anymore
Mm.
or
Yeah,
something.
because there's that fine line between um like going in a more vulnerable personal direction, that it doesn't feel like you're doing stand up anymore.
Yeah,
That it's like it's an informative and humorous TED Talk sort of thing, and it's like, no, it's got to
exactly.
have those punches. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
I I
big
struggle with that as well.
punchlines. They should
Yeah.
be they should be the focal point as opposed to like sometimes I just want to make a comment about something that I think about. There's not really a joke in there. And I have to like be able to find those little snippets and lines and be like, you know what, this doesn't actually add to my act. And it's
Hmm.
almost selfish of me to put that in there and force them to listen to something that's not
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because what I've been doing is I've been revisiting, like I still write new stuff, and I find it's like a few weeks ago I did a show that was just new stuff. Like
Oh,
all of us had to do brand new stuff, and that was terrifying because I
yeah.
hadn't been in that position where like everything was new, didn't know how anything would hit or anything, and that was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like it was a good
Yeah.
exercise just to that's when your professionalism and your experience would kick in to be able to deliver it. But it was really daunting to go up there with just like 6 minutes of brand new stuff, and I was like, good, because I usually just sort of like, oh, I have this new one, slip it in somewhere to test it. That's
Yeah.
how I usually do it, like slip one or two in depending on like how much time I'm doing. But to go up there with all brand new stuff, that was like it was a good exercise, but I was nervous. I was
Oh,
really,
yeah,
really nervous. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And like even the like what I feel like what I find the hardest part about stand up is the perform like the like I find you can have good written material, but if you aren't like 100% confident, as well as like your timing needs to be mostly like in the moment, kind of like you need to be able to sort of feel the room and when to pause and that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. For me, that takes forever to figure out. And I almost need to do the same joke. Like I'm sure there's all kinds of people that think I just do the same jokes all the time. And I really do to an extent, but I'm also I'm thinking about like very small details in it. And I if something doesn't go well, I can go back and for the most part, I feel pretty confident that I could pinpoint why that joke didn't work or
Yeah.
something like that. And when you're doing all that new material, you don't have that experience to think about like, do I maybe just pause a little bit here, or did I say that a little quickly, or did I sound nervous? Because I find the second you sound nervous, people are like they for the most part people want you to do well, but they as soon
Yes.
as they hear you nervous, they
They
tighten
get
up.
nervous too. It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous still?
Um, I no, to be like, because I know people who like vomit before they like really nervous and have like rituals for nerves. I think I'm more excited
Okay.
than nervous. I think the whole time that I've been doing this, I think I've been nervous, like really nervous twice. Twice. And the first time was the very first time I did stand up, where I was like, "Ugh, what am I doing?"
Yeah.
And then and then the last time that I was like super nervous was December. I had a big opportunity, and I was like, if this goes badly, it's over. Like, it was just, I just felt there was a lot riding on it, and
Right.
so I was very nervous beforehand. But I think most times I'm just excited.
Yeah, like,
I
can't wait
think
to get up
whatever
there.
nerves, I'm excited. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, I'm literally like, I'm a mess. I
Really?
pace, I think of all the bad things that can happen.
Oh wow.
I I'm probably really weird to talk to before, and like, honestly, my whole day, it was almost ruined. Like from the second I wake up, I know I got to go do a show that evening. I'm thinking about it all day, even if it's just an 8-minute spot. Up until
Wow.
maybe a year or two ago, uh, I would almost need to take the day off because it was
Really?
just such a mess for me. Yeah, like I never I was always a little bit shy. So like even to this day, a little bit
Mhm.
now it's been like 10 years. So now it's not so bad anymore. Like I know
Mhm.
everything's gonna be fine, but
Mhm.
I can remember actually specifically at the old Yuck Yucks before one of the summer comedy competitions. I don't know if it was the finals or the semifinals one year. And I remember pacing in the back behind that curtain beside that Jack Daniels statue
Oh
thing, and
yes, yes, yes.
and I don't know who was on before me, but I knew their act, so I could hear it from there, and I knew I was about to go on, and I was like, okay, what's the first thing you're gonna say? Like, what's the opening line? And I couldn't think of the opening
Oh
line. I
no.
was going up in like a minute, and I literally, I sweat through my shirt, and like I was just freaking out. But by the time they called me up, everything went fine, and it goes fine. Not the only time there was one time, like within the first 2 years, I think I forgot where I was going, and I just got off stage, and it like nothing happened. So
Okay.
I don't know. I try to look at it like I guess kind of like the way you're saying, like you're excited. So I try to think of it as like, well, for one, if you're not nervous, you don't care.
I
I
was about
think
to
you
say
should be
that,
a
yeah.
little bit nervous. And
Mhm.
also
You
how
gotta feel
often
something, yeah.
totally and how like I tried to look at like nervous like I don't feel nervous that often. So like I mean this is probably like the hedonist drug addict in me, but I would almost think of it like a high. I'm like, look at it like a high. Like you don't feel like I feel like I could do jumping jacks right now. I'm like in it because I'm so nervous. So I was like, just try to channel that.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
how I would try to like talk myself down a little bit.
Wow, 'cause I find it fascinating, um, like how many people feel some degree of nerves before, and it doesn't matter like how long they've been doing it. I was sitting in the green room with a comic I've idolized for years, and it was just the two of us in the room, and he was headlining obviously, and I had already gone up, and he was sitting on the couch, and he just went like, and I turned and I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, "I'm just wondering if tonight's the night that they that something if tonight's the night they realize that I'm not funny or something along those lines." Like I was just so like blown away. I'm like, "You still get nervous?" He's like, "Every fucking day." Like this. And I was like, "Wow, okay." Okay. So I was like, "All right, it's normal." If someone who's been doing it for like 30 plus years still has that like anxiety, then that's it just blew my mind.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's like, I mean, public speaking is considered to be like the number one fear, number two or something like that
Yeah,
after
the fear of more than death.
writers. Yeah.
Like,
Eh, And to be honest with you, like I mean, I've always been a kind of an adrenaline junkie. Like I did whitewater rafting and I was a big ski bum and like I used to longboard in the Gatineau Hills and like I love adrenaline. Like I mean, I really and the best thing, like the most thrilling thing is getting up on stage and it being live entertainment. Like it could go wrong. It could go really
Yeah,
wrong.
it could go very wrong.
Like we've both, I know that we've both seen like bombs where you're like, I need to leave. This was
I need to
so
get out of here.
yeah, like
Exactly.
I need a massage from my body cringing for I don't know, it was probably a 5 minute set, but I am like I feel like
Traumatized, the trauma. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like I have PTSD.
Exactly. I know. Yes. Yeah. So like the crash and burn, like, yeah, yeah, where you, and yeah, there's nothing you can do. And it's just like I don't know. For me, watching somebody bomb is like is the worst. I don't like, I hate it. I hate
Do
it.
too.
I
I
hate it.
I'm not one of those people that some people, and actually I would say this is more of an audience thing, but sometimes like they'll go to the new talent night and like someone will be like, well, sometimes it's more funny when they bomb. And I guess maybe because I can relate to the comedian on stage, I'm like, not to me.
Yeah.
Like
Not to me. No, no.
because
Yeah.
there's something hilarious about like that person put in probably a lot of effort into putting that all together. And it's I guess it is kind of funny then to get nothing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. Yeah. Cause you know that, I think, as we know as comics, that it's like, yeah, you're up there for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. That material that you brought up there took you hours to put together.
Yeah,
You didn't just cobble it together on the spot, and I think a lot of the audience doesn't know that, or doesn't realize that they think we're talking off the top of our heads, that there's no preparation involved. But I think part of the pain of watching that is knowing how much effort went into the minutes and the bits that somebody brought on stage. And it's like, I get no joy of of seeing somebody,
die.
yeah, somebody watching someone die on stage. Like, it's awful. It's terrible. It's
And then I look
terrible.
at the host. I always look at the host after I watch someone bomb because I see them like going through their notes and stuff.
Yeah, because they're like, what do I
Oh
got to
shit,
bring
I
the
gotta
room
reset
back?
the room. Yeah.
Exactly.
This guy's making me
Exactly.
work.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, because it's not just, and your next guest, like, thanks to so and so bringing up your next. Yeah, you got to put some work in and bring the room back. Yeah, yeah, and that's yeah, getting bringing an audience back that's checked out, that's been like like this for the last 5 minutes, is not easy.
Oh,
It's not
especially
easy.
if it's one of those open mic shows where, like the Wednesdays or whatever, where they already drag on sometimes for 2.5
Hmm.
hours. Like
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
exhausted.
Right, people are exhausted. Yeah, because those shows can go long, because it's mainly, especially if it's like mostly brand new people who don't have timing or anything. They think they've got 6 minutes, but they've gone on for 10 or something,
Yeah,
which is what happened my very first time.
me too. Me
Yeah,
too. I
because
did
I
like
didn't
only
account for
like 10
laughter.
minutes. Yeah, neither did I. I just like, and I kind of like read it out without, I just like read it in front of me. And I'm like, oh, that took about 6 minutes.
Yeah, I did the
But like,
same.
once you get up there, it's easily way longer. And then, yeah, like you're saying, like if you get any laughs,
Yeah,
and
I'm like,
you know, at the time, you're just like, you're barely brave enough to get up. You're not looking
yes,
for the light. You're just trying to get all your lines out as much
yes,
as you imagine them the way that they're going to come out in your head. And if you can't, if you're, like you're probably just focused on that, let alone the timing. And
oh,
I
for
think a
sure.
lot of people don't actually know that about stand up is how like how anal they are about like 1 minute. Like if you run the clock by a minute on a weekend at like a certain club that I'm not going to mention, you're in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
and honestly, rightfully so. That was what you were booked for. You're getting
Yes,
paid, and that's your job.
exactly. And just the say, and the opposite is true too. If you're booked for 10 minutes and you do 8,
Someone, yeah,
yeah, that's not good either. But what
yeah,
I find here, like in our community, is that, okay, you might get reprimanded for going over, but I know in some markets, people going over means that they're people who won't get on.
Yeah.
People
Yeah,
get there are
absolutely.
people that will get cut
They'll get bumped.
because, if everybody did, yeah, you get bumped. Like if everybody goes 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes over, and you're at the end of the lineup, you might
You're
you might get bumped,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
the headliner's going on, and he's
Yeah,
not
exactly. The headliner's going on regardless and might go on at the expense of two or three people,
sure.
you know?
Well, I
So
always
yeah,
thought it was crazy too, like in certain, I mean, like the 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 hubs, like in LA and New York, and looks like Texas is becoming one as well with Rogan's Comedy Club there. But
yeah,
like certain drop-ins, I mean, if Dave Chappelle shows up, I mean, I've only seen it happen once in Ottawa, and that was with Tom Green. He dropped in one time and he did
yeah,
15 minutes, and I don't think Howard even bumped anyone. I think he just shortened everyone's set by like 2 minutes. Maybe. I don't even remember
yeah,
if that was what happened, but uh yeah, I
yeah.
I I've never really even had that happen. Like it, yeah, it's a little different out there.
Yeah. I've never seen anybody get bumped, but I do know I was at a show and this was in January, I think, and Tom Green popped in with two other comics and Howard gave them time. So the two other comics he put us he put them in with us. It was like a Thursday night a new talent showcase. He like put them in with us, and then the headliner of Thursday night did her set, and then Tom Green went on after. It was a long show, but it was a
That's crazy.
fantastic show. It was an amazing
Right.
show, because it was all because I don't think there was anybody there who was brand new. It was all like seasoned people who've been doing it for a while, like good strong people who've been doing it for a while. And then
Mhm.
these three came in, and then Tom Green with Tom Green, and it was like a 4 hour show. It was really long, but it was from start to finish an amazing show.
It's
Yeah,
cool that we have that in Ottawa. Like that happens like a reasonable amount. Like with, I mean, there's obviously Tom Green and Jeremy Hotz
yeah.
and
John Doerr.
John
Yeah,
Doerr,
yeah,
Mike McDonald. A couple
yeah.
of before obviously he passed away. Graham Kay even.
Yes, he was
Uh,
here not too long ago, a few
just
weeks
a
ago.
week
Yeah,
or two ago.
yeah,
Yeah. My
yeah.
grandma, funny enough, she curls with his grandma.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I remember her saying one time, she's like, "Yeah, my friend's son, he's a comedian too." And I'm just thinking, like, he did an open mic, and she's like, "Yeah, do you know Graham Kay?" I'm like, "I've heard of him once or twice."
Exactly. This was like something similar happened to me I think it was in the fall. I did the satellite room, the Moose McGuire's in
Yeah,
Orleans,
Orleans there, yeah.
and show my set went great. The show was awesome, and this woman came up to me and she's like, I really enjoyed your set. She's like, you're pretty good. I've never heard of you before. She's like, she goes, my son does stand up too. And I was like, oh really, like who's your son? She's like, Kyle Brownrigg. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god. I'm like, I know him. He's awesome. He's amazing.
Yeah,
Like, oh
I
my
know.
god. And yeah, I was a feature on at a show at the Marriott like last spring or something. And at the end of the show, I'm packing up my stuff. Like the show was good. The set went well and everything. I'm packing up my stuff and I just hear, oh, that was really fun. And I turn, it's John Doerr.
Wow.
He's like, that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. And I was like, like I didn't know he was there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I think the last time I saw him was, I think the year before. Um, he had done a few shows in Ottawa when Yux was in Little Italy, when it was at that
On the roof
Trattoria
there.
on the
Yeah.
roof, yeah, on the rooftop. And I had gone to one of the shows. I think he did two or three shows, and I went to one of them. I think I went to like a late show or something, and he was so lovely and so gracious, and he was so nice because
Oh
I went
yeah.
up to him like before I was leaving. He was talking with Howard, and I was just went just to just say bye, and he was like, oh, thanks for coming, and I appreciate you being here, and like he was so sweet, and then like a year later, um was just like so, like I can't think of the word, humble, and just like, hey, good job, that was fun.
Down to earth.
I mean, yeah,
The
it
guy that
was really
lives in
nice.
LA and does skits with Amy Schumer,
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
and I mean, I don't know about you, but when I started, I thought he was like in my top 3. I saw him, I mean, it was like 10 years ago, and I remember his opener was a joke about, it was like, uh-huh, like I mean, I can't even replicate it because I can't, for one, fully remember it. But he didn't even tell jokes. He just like, it was like the rhythm. He was kind of like, uh-huh, oh, like he was baiting you whether or not he was going to start the show, something like that. And like, it was hilarious. And I was like, how did he even, like, find that? Like, did that accidentally happen, like, once, then he's like, "I'm gonna try to do another cycle?" And I was like, he was willing to take the risk to be sort of
Yeah,
ultra creative and a little bit, like, alternative, I guess, maybe,
yeah,
if you wanna, like, categorize it, but it was such a good show, and
yeah,
the act was incredible.
yeah.
I love it. I peed my pants the whole time. Yeah, I
It's
met him,
so
shook his
funny.
hand after. I didn't really get to talk to him, but, yeah, he was super nice, and
Yeah,
it's just as
yeah.
if there's so many people from Ottawa that,
That's the
like,
thing.
kinda
It's
look
such a
up to.
strong powerhouse of these great comedic talents, like all from here,
Even
you
Ben
know?
Miner,
Yeah,
from, Sirius XM started in Ottawa, and,
yeah.
like, yeah,
There's something about, I don't know if it's the water or what, but there's
yeah,
something that, considering like Ottawa is considered like a small, medium-sized market, like compared to Toronto or
sure.
um, you know, New York for sure and everything, but it churns out strong comics.
I I believe that to my, like, I mean, I haven't spent enough time really to make a comment in either Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, or whatever, but I find you go to, like, an amateur show in Ottawa, and it's pretty solid, like, those acts they're funny, and they're
Yeah,
good, and it's, like, good stand-up. It's not just that, like, attitude. I can't watch that crap.
no,
I just
yeah.
I if there isn't punchlines and you're too cool for school and you got all the fashion on and you're like
That's not enjoyable
good
for me.
looking and that you're just doing that, I don't know, maybe I'm just bitter, but I can't, when I think of stand-up, I'm like, you're leading me into a punchline or you're misdirecting me. I thought you were gonna say
Yeah,
one thing, you say another. That's stand-up to me, not this like goofy swagger, no punchline thing. I don't know. Below the pros, that's what a lot of the comedy is there, is this kind of
mm,
like attitude based stand up. And I don't know. I don't
yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
it.
I know what you mean, and like I've done comedy in Toronto. I've done it in, I started here in Ottawa, but I've done like shows in Toronto. I've done more shows in Montreal than I've done in Toronto. And it's just there's a different, I find each, the markets that I've been to, each market has a distinct style. There's a
Right.
style of, even though big people talk about different things and have their own persona and style, there's an overall, like there's like a Montreal style, there's an Ottawa style, there's a Toronto style that I find, I can't describe it,
Right.
but I don't know what it is, but there's something about, I don't know if it's stage presence, I don't know if it's delivery or what, but
Mhm.
there, like I find each market has a distinct style,
Yeah.
a distinct style.
Actually, I love Montreal, and Montreal comics are really awesome too.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fun. I like it there too. I
And
like it
it's
there
really
too.
friendly and welcoming there, I found,
Hmm.
at least in comparison to Toronto, where it's
Yeah.
like
It's a
uh,
little harder, I find,
competitive.
in Toronto. Yeah.
Like it's cutthroat. I feel like that's, you could use that word and it'd be, but whereas Ottawa I wouldn't say is cutthroat. There's kind of enough stage time for everybody and uh
Yeah, and I think people are
stick
free
around
to
long enough.
do, yeah, to
good
do,
enough, you'll get
yeah.
paid eventually. Like you'll get in if you're,
Hmm.
eventually you'll get there.
Yes, yes, you put the work in and all of that, and it comes. Um, because I was in New York in June, and I was excited, but I was like, oh, New York City, New York
Yeah.
comics. Oh, it's
No big deal, or
not no big deal. Like, because I was still like, I'm in New York City sort of
yeah,
thing. But there is, again, what I was saying, there is a definite style
sure,
there. And I think I went in with the thing of like New York comics are all going to be fantastic. They're all going to be cool and all of this. And we're at par. We're at par. The shows that I did, I was there for a festival, so it's just that's a little bit different.
sure,
Um, but my friend Rob Morgan came, like, went to New York with me, and we did an open mic. Like
nice.
a show at it was called Broadway Comedy Club, and it was like 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. You pay $5 for 5 minutes, and we're like, we're doing
Yeah,
it,
yeah. I did the
and
same thing in
yeah,
LA.
yeah, it was very cool. Like, we had never done that. We'd never done that before, because it's run very differently there than here, you
Yeah,
know.
all the bringer
So
shows and stuff. Did they
yeah,
bring people?
for that one, no, because
No.
it was just comics. It was like 4 in the afternoon, and
Okay,
it was just comics, and
right,
so we paid our $5, and we're all like waiting, and um while their style was different, like, it was distinctly different, but we held our own there, like. And at that time, it just, it I guess, not like, how can I put it, I didn't feel intimidated anymore, because I went there intimidated, like, oh, they're like New York City comics, like New York City's like the mecca of stand-up comedy and all of this stuff, and I had all these thoughts in my head that, like, I I won't be able to compete, I won't be like the same caliber or level or anything, and it was like, no, it was fine.
right.
It was
Yeah,
fine. It was fine, and, like, I wasn't at the Comedy Cellar or something where, like, world renowned, world famous comedians go. It's just regular comedy shows, and yeah, it was like at being at a strong show in Ottawa.
right.
It wasn't
So they were good too, like the other comics on the show.
on this open mic.
Yeah,
Yeah, it ran the gamut. Some were very, very good. Some were like, "Meh,"
yeah.
you
Because
know.
when I was in LA, I would say there was like I felt like I was in the top. Like I felt like I actually stood out. Like I when
We
I
felt strong. We felt stronger. Yeah.
yeah, like and I'm not saying this to it was very much it felt like this is where you go for your first time because it was the same thing as at this place in West Hollywood called the Ha Ha Cafe, and it was before the real shows at like, yeah, 6 o'clock or something like that, and you paid 5 minutes or you could pay like $10 or something to do like 8 minutes. You could pay like to do a little more,
Hmm.
and then everyone's just sort of in the lobby and I'm like waiting uncomfortably. It's just kind of like looking at headshots all around the club and like just checking out the club because I always find comedy clubs interesting and cool to look at.
Hmm.
So much history
Yeah.
there, and like
Yeah.
so many people have been nervous in the corner. Like all sorts of fights probably broke out and blah blah blah. Like,
It's true.
just so much cool little things that have affected people's lives or whatever there. And I always find that interesting. But once the show started, yeah, they just took all the people that were on the show, put them in a room, and then everyone just went up and did it in front of the other comics, and no one really made any noises or anything. And
Okay.
I felt like there was only one or two other people who had like prepared material. Like the
Mm.
other people just seemed to go up and just grab the mic and just kind of say a lot of cliche stuff, and then but
Oh,
there was a
wow.
couple people that really had like their things sort of together a little bit more. And then
Mm.
there was a lady in the back who was running it, if she liked your set, she would text you back and ask you to come to a Saturday bringer show, which again
Oh,
would be before the show. But I wasn't in LA that long. We were headed, I was just down there for like on vacation, and I thought, oh, it'd be cool to say I did a show. So I
yeah.
did it. And I ended up getting the text on the Saturday being like, hey,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
you think you could come back and can you bring 5 friends? And I know that's a bringer. In my head, I'm like, oh, that was my ticket to being a movie star. It was nothing, but to me, it was a big deal.
Oh yeah, especially like that's how it's done there. That's like the process there. That's a good thing. That's a good
Yeah,
thing. I know that that open mic, it was just comics, but we had their attention because it was obvious that they all knew each other. And then like they came into the room and Rob and I were there and they were like, who are they? Like we've never seen them before. So I think we had their attention just because they'd never seen us before.
right.
And like we had them laughing. They were laughing at our stuff. They were listening, they were paying attention, which
That's
I know
half the
usually
battle.
in a room full of comics that's like almost impossible sometimes, but I
Sure.
think it's because they didn't know who we were, and it was like, who are these people, like who are they, sort of thing, and like it felt good to like get up in front of like a completely different audience in a different country and have your stuff resonate, have it work, so
Absolutely. Especially
that was
New
cool.
York City.
New York City. That was cool. That was really, really cool. But I know it's like after like the first few days that I was there and like going to clubs and seeing like say the other comics in the festival and things like that. And it's like, no, I belong here. Like I don't have to be intimidated by anybody here. We have different styles and different talk about different things, but in terms of ability, I should be here too.
Yeah,
It's fine. It's fine for me to be here. It's not a fluke that I'm here, sort of thing.
absolutely.
But it was fun. It was fun. And I like seeing how things work in different markets.
Yeah,
I think I
sure.
think I think it's a good education and good knowledge to have, to
What is
to
crazy with comedy is you kind of have to reprove yourself every time you go to a new spot. Like every
yes,
time you move to a new city, you have to build up from starting from zero again.
yes,
And I mean, I
yes,
saw Darren Frost posting something about waiting in line to do a open mic night, and it's like this guy's on TV and like one of the most well-known Canadian comics working, if you ask me,
yeah,
and like he's still out there saying, "Pick me."
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it just shows that it's it's evergreen. It's always, you have to keep working at it, like no matter what level or what achievements you hit, that you have to keep, there's still work to be done, like you still have
Sure,
to
can always
work at
improve.
it. Yeah, there's always room for improvement. There's always something to learn. There's always something to try. And yeah, because even because I'm sure you experience this, like say you have a um either your whole set or like a bit that you've done for, let's say, in the period of 6 months, you've been doing this bit. If you watch how you did that bit on day one versus how you that same bit 6 months later, it's different. It's the
Completely.
same bit, but things have changed along the way.
Yeah,
Like the rhythm has changed. You might have punched it up with different tags. You've done something to it that the bit at the beginning and the same bit at the end, it's morphed into something different.
I've actually found I've ruined bits that way as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like and not to quote Louis again, but I remember he used to say that he liked to do his jokes the exact way he thought of it. Like when it first came into his head, he'd write it down that way exactly and not edit it down into oblivion. And I've definitely caught myself editing it. And then like when I listen to it later, I'm like this politically correct, grammatically perfect little written blurb. It's not even like it's almost not a joke anymore.
Mm,
Isn't like raw and true. Like it lost its like authenticity because I went in and like grammatized it,
yeah,
and it's probably not even
yeah.
a word.
It is
But
now.
like, yeah, but
Yeah,
I think like the lesson there is the review is that I would I would do that. And you're right. Like you could, you find either the joke has morphed and you've really nailed it, or sometimes I found I would actually revert back to where it started in the beginning and then maybe realize, oh, I was focusing when I was editing it, I focused on like the area that actually wasn't that funny,
yeah,
or at least to the audience, it wasn't getting the reaction that I thought it deserved. So I
yeah,
would be like, okay, well, I mentioned a couple other details in the beginning. Maybe I'll like focus on that and that'll be the punchline instead.
yeah, yeah. Because I know a few times over the last year or so, year and a half, I've gone back to say jokes I wrote and did right at the start and have like revamped them or combined them or something just because I had like the experience and the like more experience and more knowledge than when I first wrote them that I could do more with them. So I've
Yeah.
gone back and like edited and morphed. I know a couple that were like say 3 or 4 different bits I've merged into one.
Oh, totally.
Things like that, or just massage it and change it a little bit. And
And you can like articulate better, like you get the like what you're trying to say across much more clearly.
yes,
And
yes,
like that might
yes,
even be with like a little bit of body language as well as like what you're saying, or
yeah,
something like that. Like
exactly, exactly. Because
actually my
sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, my clothes are there. It used to be maybe 4 or 5 punchlines, and then maybe sometime, I don't know when it was, I was able to like kind of combine them all. And then when I merged them, it was like the punchlines were so much closer together that it could build off of one of another. And then just the way that the joke works, there's like the callback thing.
Yeah,
That's when everyone like I can almost say whatever I want, because as soon as they realize it's the callback, they're like, oh, it's still the joke. He's
yeah.
not just going off the rails being a misogynist or something, or whatever.
Right.
Or he's just not just like shooting the breeze.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. But there's one that I do now that's it's an opener that I use now that I've had this joke in my head for like 20 plus years.
Right.
And like well before I started doing comedy, and I was like, if I ever do stand-up comedy, which at the time was like, I don't think I'll ever do it because I'm too shy and too scared. But I was like, this is a joke I would do. And
Right.
the first time I did it, actually, it was the first time I was at Yuck Yucks and you were featuring. That was the first time I met you.
Really.
Yeah, you were featuring. It was a new talent showcase when it was on like a Tuesday or
Okay.
Wednesday. It was during the week at the old club. That was it was I remember it was January, and that was the very first time I performed at Yuck Yucks, and I'd been doing comedy for like 4 or 5 months at that point. I remember you were the feature
Oh,
that
right
night.
on.
Yeah, yeah. And it was the first time I did the joke then. And it worked, but like when I look back at it, it was so long. Like it was too many details and that's just like inexperience and newness. There's so many details and I've stripped it down. I've taken out a lot of those extra details and it's still like the core of it still works. And that's something that I had to learn, that it's like I don't need to put, I think my personality is like I need a lot of details, and I think everyone else needs a lot of details, but
Sure.
in comedy you don't need all those details.
Yeah. Cut
You
the
know, you don't
fat.
need, cut the fat. Yeah, you don't need all those details. Like nobody cares if the sky was blue at the time
Yeah.
when it
You don't have to,
happened.
yeah, you don't have to set the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it doesn't, you don't need to know what mood everyone in
Yeah.
the story's in
The
and what
temperature.
shirts they're wearing. Yeah.
Exactly. It's true. So it's like, so that like that's one of the things I find hardest to do, is taking out all those details, because in my the way my brain works is like, yeah, I like to picture this scene. I like to have the whole, like, what were
Well,
people thinking and stuff
and
at the time.
I feel like you're just trying to put it in the right context. You want them to be in the right headspace to
Yes.
be ready for the punchline. You're just
Yes.
trying to like, well, what if this little detail, if I don't have it there, what if it's 2% less
Yeah.
funny or something like
Yeah, or
that?
they
Like,
won't understand it at all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. When it's like, no, if you they don't, yeah, the color of the room doesn't matter like this. Unless it's essential to the punchline, it does not matter. Yeah, and
right.
that's something that I have to work on like all the time. All the time. But like,
I do
um
too, actually. That
yeah.
especially for new bits, I almost like to do it terribly, like in that way, just as because once in a while, well, then I guess it's just sort of like you're getting like the audience's reaction, whether or not, like if I get some sort of response in any way, like not even necessarily a laugh, but even like a ooh, or
Yeah.
like some sort of reaction where I know that they're engaged. I'm like, okay, well then I might keep that in just because I got something there.
Yes.
Can I work that a way to make it fit better and then it
Yes.
amplifies the joke, or does it just need to be scrapped completely because it doesn't make sense?
Exactly. And you don't want big, because they can be engaged, but you want them laughing. You want to hear them reacting. And I know for myself that that's a sign that I have to edit if
Mhm.
there's like a gap from the last laugh to the next laugh in the same bit. Like there's too much stuff before I get to the next laugh. And that's usually a sign that, yeah, something could probably come out of
For sure.
that either could come out completely, that section can come out completely, or it needs to be shortened or something. Like that's usually a cue for me that it's that there's stuff that can still, more fat can be removed, from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it could be whittled down a little more.
Yeah, they can be whittled down. But I know when I'm like, if I'm writing something new, I write it with all the details. Like I'll just
Yeah,
start with
for sure.
every single detail, just get like the whole thought out,
Mhm.
and then I'll go back and
Do you have a process?
do I have a
Like
process?
do you sit down to write, or like do you, like I'm sure you have a note on your phone that you write all your ideas that come to you in, and
Yeah.
then like will you go back and flesh them out later? Like I know
Yes.
like Joe Rogan writes in like an essay format. And same with there's a guy named Christopher Titus. He's pretty famous, but
Yeah,
not everyone.
I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah. He had like a famous writing method where he would write it out as a story format and get like the story out and get like what he's thinking out, and then he'd go back and punch it out.
Mm,
But then there's
yeah.
also people that like work it out on stage, and like to me that sounds horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. The working it out on stage. No. Yeah, that
And
scares
they're
me.
like
No.
not having the safety net there, like from being live and everything. They would say like that's what forces it out of them. And to me, that wouldn't force it out of me. I would
No.
shut down and have a
Yeah.
meltdown on
Me
stage
too.
and walk away with my tail between my legs,
Yeah, because it's already
crying.
nerve-wracking enough to take a
Yeah,
new bit to the stage when I've done all of the editing and stuff like that, to be like, oh, this, I'm just gonna go like that. That wouldn't work for me. That
yeah,
wouldn't work for me. But like my process, like I've never been the person to say, okay, 'cause I know people who do this and it works very well for them. Where they're like, okay, every day at 2 o'clock, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write for an hour. Either it's like a time I'm going to write for an hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes, or sit down and they're like, I'm going to write 5 jokes or something. I've tried that. It doesn't work. It's when it's too forced, I it doesn't work. So I always have like my phone or something, and then like a thought will come in. Like I'll get a thought or something, and I have to write it down because I've lost so many bits and thoughts because it's like I've been driving and it's like, oh, when I get to work, I'll do it, and I forgot. But yeah, like I have like an app on my phone, a notes app where I can categorize things differently. So if it's something brand new and it's just like an idea, I have that like it's set under premise.
Right.
So yeah, I've got it's I'm just the way my brain works. So I have it. So say a brand new bit would be like a premise. I categorize it premise, untested, in development, and then whatever the subject matter is, whether it's relationships, uh, race,
You.
mental health, or something. And so that, and then I'll just put whatever notes. Sometimes it's a word, sometimes it's a sentence, or I'll put like just what I was thinking about it, so that whenever it is that I go back to it, I'll be able to say, oh, okay, these are the thoughts I had about this. Because I've tried just the one word and I go back and I'm like, what was I think? I don't know what this means. Like, what was I
Right.
thinking? Like, what was my thought process when I wrote down this word? So I try to
Right.
just put as many things that I could remember. Um, and then sometimes, I'll get a thought about something and I'll Google search it. I'll look it up, and then, I'll put links or something, some sort of reference that might prove helpful
Got
when I'm
you.
actually writing the bit or something. But
Right.
yeah, I feel like I'm a little all over the place when it comes to that, but I've never been the sit down and write kind of person. It's like I'll just jot things down as I go along, and then at some point I'll be like, oh, let me check. Let me go through my premise file or stuff that's in development. Like, oh yeah, I was working on this a few months ago and I got distracted. I was like, squirrel, I went somewhere
Yeah.
else. So I'll go back and I'll work that out. And then I have another file of stuff like to try, stuff to like incorporate. And yeah, it's all over the place. And then sometimes it happens where a bit comes right away and it comes perfectly formed, and it's like, oh, I'm going to try this next time I'm on stage, and I do that, but yeah, I don't have
Defined
a
process.
defined process. Yeah. What about you? Do you write stuff down? Do you use it like electronically? Because I can't do the notebook thing, the
Um,
pen and paper.
I've done both. I find I guess I've even done like lots of writing exercises with people. Even like I know over COVID, like Michaela Chung used to do that, like a joke writing group, and I liked that because there was a deadline there. I had to go
Mhm.
and show my face and have something new to say, and I liked that it like kind of forced me to write, even if like yeah, where and then like even before that, I remember I used to do it with Daniel Araya sometimes or Ben Hagel, and we get on a Zoom call or whatever, and we would do more like writing exercises. So it wouldn't be necessarily like because it's so vague when you say just write a stand-up bit. It's like about what?
Yeah,
Oh, like there's so many
exactly.
like what are you gonna make funny? So like what we used to do is we'd almost approach it like a comedy writer for a late night show, and we'd go and we'd be like, all right, well, we're gonna on this section of the CBC, you're gonna pick something, you're gonna write a joke about this story. And
Yeah.
so we'd all take 10 or 15 minutes and come up with anything. Like it, and 90% of the time it sucked. It was horrible. But
But the exercise, the process of just doing that. Yeah.
yeah, and you would get better at like not forcing funny, but finding funny in spots where you were worse at it before. And
Hmm.
then when you go back to your stand up, now let's say you're telling a story that's already interesting, but you want to punch it up, you're
Yeah.
better at finding the funny because you've practiced on all these other stories where there was no consequence, or just like you got the reps in a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that you can teach yourself to be kind of funny, like in at least like I mean, there's always the naturals, but they're
Mhm.
you know they're naturally like they're, but you could be a fun like you could figure it out. Like I think especially with stand up because it's it looks like to the audience like you're just up there and it's hard or whatever, but you can fine tune every element that every part of your performance.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Do you
Yeah.
find you have like a like for me it's in the shower, but do you find you have like like a aha moment place like if you're driving to work or something, you're thinking about a bit, you haven't quite figured it out, and then all of a sudden you're like, that's the line.
Yes.
That's what I gotta
Yes.
say. Do you have like an
Yes.
activity that you do that or something where that happens more often?
Yeah, it usually happens. I know physically, it's like I have to be usually very relaxed, and it's usually if I'm doing dishes.
Really?
Yeah, if I'm just doing dishes, that's when I guess my brain relaxes enough to like I don't know cycle through all of these
I
things, and that's when I get ideas and
I swear
tags and
it's when
stuff.
you're doing something, like, kinda mundane, like something
Yes,
easy where
yes,
you like, your body's moving, but your mind is elsewhere.
hmm,
I swear
yeah,
that those are the best times to
yeah.
be creative or,
I agree. Yes.
I don't know what it is, like, yeah, in the car or sorry, showering for some reason, like, I'll never forget when I had one of my punchlines come to me there that's done it's a joke that's done well for me for a long time, and I can, like, specifically remember being in the shower going like, "Yes! Yes! I finally figured it out, and that's the perfect line, I can't wait to try this." And then it actually worked, which was
Yeah.
nice 'cause, sometimes you have those moments, you're like, "This is the perfect punchline," and then you say it, and they're like,
You're like, what the fuck?
"And?"
You're like,
That was it. That was
yeah,
the
that's it.
uh,
Oh my God. But what I do, I don't know if you do this or because I've never really talked about this, but sometimes I tend to like have conversations with myself,
oh yeah.
sort of thing. And I get a lot of stuff from that too.
Oh yeah. I think my neighbors think I'm a sociopath. Like I'm I'm not just talking my I end up almost yelling.
Conversations.
I'll almost be yelling like they must especially my apartment now not so much, but my old apartment, you could hear everything through the floors and the walls and stuff. They must have thought I was nuts. I'd be like and I would even be like, let's say I'm practicing for a show or something, I'm going through my lines. As I'm going through it, if I don't like the way it comes out of my mouth, I say it until I get it right.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I do it
So,
too. I
like,
just
they'd be
repeat it
hearing me
over and over.
yeah, and, like, sometimes the subject matter is, like, sexual or whatever, like, they must have just thought I was crazy, like and I couldn't have anyone home, like, I mean, even, like, I live with my girlfriend now, I can't like, she can't be anywhere near the apartment, like, if I go for a walk and I go and walk to the grungiest like, where the drug addicts are, so I fit right in. Like, they're talking to themselves, I'm talking to myself, I'm fidgeting, I'm uncomfortable, I'm looking all over the place. I got my phone like, I'm just a mess, trying to figure out, like, how am I gonna organize this? And, like, it's all happening in your brain, right? But, like, from the outside, you look like you're glitching or something,
It's
like,
true.
something wrong with
Like unhinged, it's true. It's true. Like I live by myself and like I don't think I think if someone lived with me here, I'd have to do the same thing. I'd have to leave to do that, or I'd have to ask them to leave, or plan it that I do that when they're not home or something, because I think I would be very self-conscious working that out with somebody else around me.
Mhm.
Because I don't know, I find that very personal. That for me, that's even
Yeah.
though I'm taking this to the stage, I find that practicing and the rehearsing and the testing stuff out like on my own is it's very personal
Oh, yeah.
for me. Like I don't really want anybody in that. Like for me, that's like, yeah.
And
It
a non-comic can't listen to you and understand that, like, you haven't opened with your opener and like warmed them up to the point where they're ready for this bit. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like you're just starting with the bit from like start to finish of that bit. And then like it's one person, it's not in a comedy club, and you're still like you almost just want to have it come out of your mouth. Like you're not ready to perform it. And they
Yes.
don't get that. So they hear it,
Yes.
they're like,
You just want to say it and just
uh,
get it out
yeah, and they're
without
like,
all the whatever you would do.
okay. Yeah. And I don't know about you. Do you ever like, will you ever walk someone into a conversation where you're testing something on? Like sometimes what I would do is if there's a certain line, almost like if there's something I want to say, like, I mean, I kind of did it. Sometimes I do it on social media too. I just put out like a meme the other day. It was something like, you know, Steven, oh, what's the conservative YouTuber guy? It's like Change My Mind or whatever.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Anyways, I just put like Moxie's is just a classy Hooters, change my mind. Like, I mean, that's not, it's not great or whatever, but sometimes what I would do is I would walk someone into a conversation and be like, oh, you know, we went to Moxie's the other day. Like, what'd you think? And we'd have like a kind of a casual conversation about it. And then I would drop that line at the end and then very carefully watch their reaction. And if I could get something from one person, I used to think, well, you know what, maybe there's something there. Maybe
Right,
there's some
right.
truth to that statement or something like that. And then I would take it on stage. But if I asked them what they thought of this, then it never went well. And if anything, I would see their reaction and then lose complete confidence in what I was working on, even though
Yeah.
this person, like, I find it funny. Everyone who's laughed before, so everyone in the earth thinks they're an expert on comedy because they laugh. But
Yes.
laughing is involuntary. It's more like a sneeze than it is like a
A
like a
response,
response.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a knee-jerk react like, and that's why you might laugh at like a dead baby joke. You know, it's a
Yeah, it's
knee-jerk
just a reaction. Yeah,
it's
exactly. It's
absurd, you know, and that's probably
nervous
why
laughter or something.
I'm funny.
'Cause I don't know if it's the same for you, but I find if I'm talking with people I know, say like my friends and stuff like that, I'm very conscious to not be on.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm doing a bit or something. I don't want to feel on with people I
Same.
don't know that I'm not I don't think of it that much, but like with like say with my family and friends and stuff like that. Not with other comics, because other comics like when you're comfortable with them, like you one up
Fun or
each other
whatever.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just different. But like say with civilians, you know, I'm very conscious of not being on or not appearing on because I don't want them to think that I'm performing for them or I'm testing stuff out on them. So I'm super, super
You're not a
conscious.
clown, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Exactly. So I find I have to I'm checking myself just to make sure
Sure.
like I'm just talking to my friend normally, that I'm
Yeah.
not in comic mode or I have to be funny mode or witty mode or something, you know?
Do you find you even might shut down something like you would like you might even just have like a and it's not to be a comedian, you're just that's your personality to
Yeah.
crack jokes. Would you
Yeah.
find yourself even holding back just so that they don't go and say something like, "Oh, she's a comedian over there,
Yeah.
eh? They're known as I don't know if you knew
Yeah.
this comedian." Like I
I'm not
hate
gonna be in your bit, am I?
yeah, yeah,
Your little
yeah,
skit.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, skit. I hate when they say it.
Skits like that,
It's
I
so
know.
demeaning for some reason.
It's true.
Like,
It's
I feel
true.
like I'm in, like, the Christmas play or something, like, back in grade 6. Like
It's true. That Christmas, yeah, that Christmas pageant thing. I
yeah.
know. I know. But I find that I don't if I'm being introduced to new people, like I say I'm at a party or something, I don't I don't say that I'm a
I don't
comic.
either.
I
I
don't
hate
say. It's usually somebody else that would say it, or somebody be like, "You look familiar. I've seen you. Oh yeah, I've seen you at XYZ," sort of thing. But I would never say it myself, just because I find it puts undue pressure on us because
100%.
people are expecting you like say something funny, like tell me something funny, and it's just like I just want to have my vodka soda at this house party.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know what I
I'm
mean?
just here for the bacon wrapped
Yeah, exactly. I just want a
appetizer.
burger. That's I'm just here
Yeah.
for my burger. I'm just here for the birthday party. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah. So I don't, I would not, uh, I won't disclose that when I'm out. But in like dating scenarios, like on dating apps, and I've heard arguments on both sides. I put it in there. I put it in my dating app that I'm a stand up, just so that they know what to expect, that I'm going to be out like 3 to 5 times a week in the
Right.
evenings, that I'm this is what I do, and this is how I spend my time, sort of thing. And I had one guy friend going, no, 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 don't put that in there, you know but I'm like, they should know that this is
Well, yeah,
what.
what are you gonna be, someone else?
Yeah,
I mean, if
exactly.
you're well, and you're Simone, you're quite successful, I would argue at this point. Like you do quite well, and uh, that's what you do.
That's
Like
what
I
I
mean,
do.
you're not messing around. It's not like you go up twice a month. You're there at different places multiple times a week,
Yes.
traveling.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
it's a
know, and
big part of my
only
life.
more. It's only going to happen more,
Yeah, I hope
and
so.
like, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for me, I 100% use. I would use being a comedian to try to pick up girls all the time. It was like half the fun. Like, I was a quiet, shy guy that never had the guts to ask anyone to his prom because I just was too scared
Too
and shy.
shy, yeah.
And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, if you had like a decent 5 minutes, it's like you would occasionally someone would want to talk to you, which was, you don't have to do any effort if they come and talk to you. That's the
Right.
hardest part. It's like
And
breaking that.
the experience is very different with men and women. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
the men who come up to like women comics, it's like
Oh
usually
yeah.
it's
No.
just very different caliber of people.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some male comics get these beautiful women like wanting to talk to them and all kinds of stuff, and it's not the same for us. It's not the same. It's not the same. Like, not the same.
Have you? I had like I had like kind of a stalker one time.
Really?
Yeah, like, I mean, sorry, I don't wanna you know what? That's the wrong word. I don't wanna make like, if someone is really at a stalker, it's a little different, but, so I had just won the absolute comedy competition, and it was that summer, and I was also a freelance graphic designer at the time, and I remember, uh, I had a bunch of jobs, actually. I was also whitewater rafting as much as I could, and so I had, like, just gotten off a trip, like a whitewater rafting trip, and I was, like, in my car or whatever, and I remember I got a phone call from Jason, and he's like, can you do 30 minutes, private show? We just got a special request just for you." And I'm like, "Uh, what do you mean just like I'm a nobody. Like, why would anybody want me?" And I only had 15 minutes at the time. And he's like, "Can you do a private show 30 minutes?" I'm like, "No, but I could do the 30 minutes." He's like, and it was really high pay. It's the most money I've ever gotten paid for a show. It was like
Wow.
crazy
What
amount of
year
money.
was this? What year did you win the competition?
This would have been 2018.
Okay.
And so he's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to send you an email with the details later, and I'll send you a follow up email because it's a private show. I ask a couple of questions for you guys to get to know them, so you have like some points to work with and riff on them with and stuff like that." I thought, "Oh, this is great. I'm this is a great start. This can't be a bad thing." And then I get an email like the next week about there's a girl. She's like, I'm looking for a logo and maybe like a website and some other stuff. Do you want to sit down and have coffee?" And I thought, okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
it's
Like,
work. Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
do.
that's not uncommon for me to go have coffee. I'll figure out what they need, and
Yeah.
I'll tell them the plan. Like, they get so many revisions, blah blah blah. Um, I get an email from Jason. He's like, "Can you be next Tuesday?" So I met her on like a Wednesday or something, and then the next Tuesday, He's like, okay, here's the show. Here's the like the person, and I saw the email address, and it was the same email address as the girl that emailed me for the graphic design stuff, who I had just met. And like it was really weird because she wanted to be a not-for-profit model, whatever that is, just to start. I'm not
Oh.
making this up. This is real. She said, I want to be a not-for-profit model to start, but I'd like to end up in Hollywood someday. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'll see you there. But like, I'm not gonna slap the hand that feeds me, right? So
Right.
like I have this, I mean, whatever, it's a client sit down with the coffee and we get through everything. And thanks for meeting me, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And then yeah, I see it's the same email address.
Which
Um,
is odd. This is like beyond coincidence. Yeah.
yeah. And then I Jason also attached like the sheet with all the questions. It's like, how old are you? 26. Are you married or whatever? And she's like, divorced. And I'm kind of like, oh geez, at
It's her
20.
Tinder profile.
Yeah, it's like, tell us something interesting about yourself. It's also my car's birthday. And then what do you like to do for fun? I like to go shopping and sailing or something like that. And I was like, so I spent the whole weekend writing jokes about kind of I started poking fun at her about how that was like the most interesting thing. Then I had like a little bit about how like I was gonna go into like, did you have any names for your car? Because I used to have like names for my old like I had a Pontiac Vibe that I bought from my mother, and I called it the vibrator because it used to shake when I drove it faster than 80 kilometers an hour. So I had this old vibrator car that I drove that my mom like basically gave me. But so that was the whole thing. But then we go to the show, and I go in, and I'm there with Josh Williams because I couldn't do the full 30 minutes, and we're at the bottom of the
So if
row
you had been able to do the 30 minutes, you would have gone alone?
alone. And this is I'm not this is great. So we're it's the Royal Oak across from like Ottawa U there, like right
Mm.
downtown. And in their basement, you can rent out like a private room, so Josh and I get there, we set the mic up and the speakers and stuff, and we wait, and the show's supposed to happen at 11. And so she comes down at like maybe 10:55 with a bouquet of flowers.
Just
And
her.
yeah, for herself, for her own birthday. And so we're kind of sitting there, and thank God, like Josh brought his girlfriend. I forgot her name, Christy or Christ or something. Anyways, and thank God she was there because she was able to kind of break the tension a little bit. And she sat down, and we're like, so like is anyone else coming, like how long should we wait? She's like, oh yeah, they're coming. And so we wait about 15 minutes and nobody shows up. And eventually Josh is just like, and honestly, God bless him for this, he's like, I got stuff to do, man, I gotta go
Yeah.
home. So like, we're gonna get started.
Oh my
There's
God.
just her in the audience. Her, me,
And
Josh, and
Josh's
his
girlfriend.
girlfriend. And we're sitting
So
there in this empty basement. She's got her bouquet of flowers with her there. And he goes up and just starts talking to her. And I'm just sitting there like,
oh my
what am I
God.
going to talk about?
That's
There's
so
one
weird.
person. Yeah. And so like
And
Josh
one
says,
person that you've already kind of met before under like different circumstances, and
yeah.
you're sitting there going, this is so freaking weird. Like, oh my God.
And like, I'm sure she's thinking that I didn't see the email. So she's thinking like this is his first time seeing that I'm also the one that hired me to make the not-for-profit model logo. And so I go up and I kind of just do my little riffs that I had about the stupid car jokes, and um, something about I don't even know. I think I made another jab about the Hollywood thing, and I was something about seeing you there and whatever. And then I went and I just did my act because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And like she didn't even really laugh. She kind of went
Oh.
like she made this like weird kind of, yeah, yeah, exactly, like a humming, like a buzzing noise
Oh.
almost. And then the show finishes and we shake her hand and we kind of hang out because we're feeling bad, right? We think that
Yeah.
everyone had just blown her off. And she orders, this is what I think is funny. She orders 3 pitchers of beer, like
3?
3. Like, so we're like, Josh and I are kind of like, yeah, we'll have a beer with her on her
Yeah.
birthday. Like, she just paid a lot of money.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, because if she hired you guys as a, she contacted the club for like a private show.
Private show, and just to put it into perspective for listeners, this is $600+
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Um, Not to mention whatever it costs to rent
To
out
rent
the
the
basement.
room
Yeah,
and her flowers.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Don't rule out that expense and the 3 pitchers of beer.
yeah.
So we're like, we'll have a beer with her. And at the time, my girlfriend then was going to pick me up. So she's upstairs sitting at a table with her sister and her brother-in-law waiting
Yeah,
for me
because
to
it's a private show, so she wouldn't have gone down to watch the
exactly.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, I told her like they were like gonna come watch, but I was like, it's a private, like I don't think you can come to this. Like,
Yeah.
it would be weird. It would, and
Yeah.
someone paid a lot of money for it, so it just, yeah, that can't happen.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Oh my
So we have the like a beer, and I'm thinking in my head like I need to leave before Josh because I'm not getting stuck in a one-on-one basement with
God.
this. Like, she's non-threatening, and honestly, like, and I almost feel bad because I think she was like maybe a little bit socially, I don't want to say
Awkward.
autistic,
But
but
maybe a
like
little
just,
awkward, socially
yeah,
awkward. Yeah.
sorry, that's the right word.
Yeah.
Not like she was just not, because like a part of me was flattered that she went to all this effort to try to get my attention, I think. And so we have the beer, and then I go upstairs, and I'm like, I'd been kind of texting my girlfriend at the time, like what was happening, and she's like, "Oh my god, oh my god." And so I go up, and I actually think she doesn't believe me because I'm like, this is crazy. And so I go up and I sit with them, and I kind of like give them the breakdown on what just happened, and I felt really bad because she comes up and she goes and sits on the other side of the bar and is like
Watching? Just watching
crying
you?
and looking over. Yeah,
Oh,
so like I'm feeling super guilty. I'm like, I need to get out of here. I don't want to hurt her feelings, but I'm
right.
also not gonna let her know that I'm interested in any way. Like
Yes, yes,
like
yes.
you give them an inch, they take a mile type of thing. Sometimes I'm sure
Yes.
you've dealt with men before, so you know what
Yes.
I'm talking.
It's like don't make eye contact
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that.
I'm not normally rude, but if I'm not rude, you won't get the message.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, you gotta go to that place sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what happened is uh uh my girlfriend at the time went to the bathroom, and she went into the bathroom and talked to my girlfriend,
Oh,
and she's like, "Do you know Kyle? He just put on this private comedy show for me. How do you know him?" And she's like breaking it to her lightly, like, "That's my boyfriend," and
yeah.
yada yada yada.
Because that could have been scary for her. This
Sure.
woman confronts her. That's my boyfriend. You don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Who knows if that's Michael Myers'
Yeah,
daughter or whatever.
exactly.
Like, we're
You don't know.
downtown,
That's the
pretty close to
thing.
the market, yeah. And she's just like kind of brushed her off, and then we ended up leaving. And then like maybe 3 weeks later, she sent me like a booty call text because I ended up like canceling the logo thing. I gave her I always take
Yeah.
a deposit whenever I do that. So
Yeah.
I sent her money back. I just said I was too busy. I had too much work on the go. I don't think I was the right choice for that project and blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
then she sent me like a random, like,
You up?
very direct. It was very direct too. It
Oh,
was like, would you like to like maybe sort of have sex, maybe sometime, maybe something like that. Like, and it was a very, I can't remember it perfectly because it was like 5 years ago now, but it
yeah.
was like, it was the weird, I don't know. I just remember like getting it, being like, oh my God. And I just showed my girlfriend right away. I was like, do you remember this?
God.
That was like the crazy. Sorry, I don't mean to abduct you, but
No,
like
no,
that
no.
was
That's
the
no, that's
craziest thing that ever
fascinating.
happened to me.
That's crazy.
And I
Wow.
never heard from her again.
It's good that you didn't work with her, because yeah, that would have just gotten weirder and weirder and weirder.
Well, like a
Yeah.
not-for-profit model, come on. I think she was trying to be what she thought I would be attracted to.
Yeah, I'm a
I think that's
model.
what she
Yeah,
was going for,
maybe.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm humble about it because I don't take money for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like every girl on Instagram with a duck face.
That's so strange though. But like as you were telling, as you were recounting that to me, I could think my brain was like, if it would reverse, like if something like that happened to me, a totally different scenario.
hundred
You
percent.
know, just totally different. Like I don't even know if I don't know. I wonder if like alarm bells would have gone off for like if it was Jason or Howard, like somebody contacted said I want her specifically for a private show in a basement in
Yeah.
some place, if they would have been like,
Well, I
I,
don't think they ever asked like, is this a solo show? I don't think that's on the like the
yeah,
form
maybe
fill
not.
out when you
Yeah.
book a comedy show, you know? Because she
Yeah.
even like when she came down, she made us wait. She's like,
Right.
they're coming. They weren't coming.
And she just said they were coming. Yeah. Oh
And
my
I was
God.
supposed to do it alone. Like
That's the
imagine,
thing. That's the first thing I thought, because because when you said that Josh was with you,
thank
I
God
was
for him.
yeah, thank God he was
Oh,
with you, because like if it let's say when Jason called you, you're like, yeah, yeah, I got 30 minutes. You would have been there by yourself,
alone.
alone.
Completely.
You would have gone in thinking, okay, it's going to be a room full of like maybe 50 people or whatever. You would have been performing for a group, but you would have been there alone. And to get there and it's just her, that's that's
And
weird.
yeah, I would have had to make like executive decisions on the fly. And I
Yeah.
hadn't done like a ton of corporate type of, at this point, I'd only done like a couple of those sort of shows. And it's a
Yes,
different thing. Like
exactly.
it's not
It's not like doing a set at a club. It's not like
no.
headlining at a club or featuring at a club. It's very different. Yeah, it's
Especially
just
like
different.
a sort of a birthday party environment. Like I would have to be very MC like for the first
Mm-hmm.
probably most of the show and then maybe drop some jokes at the end like that are more like from my act
Mm-hmm.
because you just you want to bring everybody in before you kind of get into it too much. You don't want to go up and just press play on the tape recorder
Yes,
and just do your set.
exactly. Yeah, because it's more, yeah, usually like corporate stuff or private stuff, it's more catered to the audience. You know, they'll tell you, oh, it's this kind of organization.
Yeah,
These are the key people, and yeah, you have some information so you can um not change your set, but you could incorporate stuff that incorporates that group into
yeah,
the
and they're
material.
paying a lot of money, so
Yeah,
like of course you're gonna fine tune it a little bit for them.
absolutely, absolutely, for sure, definitely.
And it's
Wow.
funny because like I honestly I felt guilt, like I didn't want her to feel bad, like I didn't
Mm,
like I mean I was I for one, I mean I had a girlfriend, I wasn't interested, but like
right.
I wanted to sort of like let her down as lightly as possible. Like that's what I was worried about. I wasn't
Yeah.
really worried about my safety,
Mm,
but it was
yeah.
crazy.
That is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. Because it's also like, yeah, it's like forcing you into a situation that you would not have, it, yeah, I was trying to force something with you that you weren't, you weren't into, you know what I mean? Like trying to create
Well,
something that from
she
like,
kept
yeah,
buying
yeah,
because she was paying for the logo, so she was paying me to go to those appointments, and then she paid for the show.
yeah, just to get
So it
your
was,
attention. Yeah.
yeah, it was like I was
It's
almost
manipulative. It's,
like a
yeah.
like they say guys are attracted to like body or whatever like I would say, and then like I would argue like a really funny guy, like girls might be more attracted to like a sense of humor. So I almost felt like the female like a stripper or something. Like like in a way, I was just like,
Yeah, she's paying you for your time.
for my, yeah, for my attention.
And it's the, yeah, because there's nothing like separate. There's nothing wrong with someone contacting you for your day job stuff to
Yeah,
do that, and there's nothing wrong with being requested. That's flattering. That's, someone calls a comedy club and
yeah,
likes your work and wants you part of their event. That's great. But combined, when it's the same person and it's it's creepy. It's
yeah.
creepy because it's
It was
like
especially
try
creepy because of, I found, because of, like, I mean, the graphic design stuff, like clearly that wasn't for anything really.
yeah.
Like I don't feel like, I knew that she's like a scientist in the government or something. Like she had a job.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to give up a decent salary to be a non-profit
Yeah.
model.
Because nonprofit means you're
Just,
not making any money.
but also, Simone, just to start, like I'm just going to take that on, and then I'll end up as an actress in Hollywood after.
No,
Because
it just doesn't work. I don't think it work. I don't think it works that way. I don't think that's how that goes.
it didn't work for me. My modeling career didn't pick up at all.
Exactly. Yeah, my nonprofit modeling career went nowhere.
Yeah, I get more
Oh.
followers with my dog's Instagram than I.
Oh yeah, but it's just it's the it's like it's the almost assumption that you're not going to pick up on that this is weird, that this is not authentic, that this isn't, as this is some kind of ploy to like get your attention or get you in a room or get you to have coffee with them or have a beer with them. Like, yeah, that's strange. That's really, really strange.
It
She's
was
got
interesting.
money though, she has money.
Yeah, well, I don't know how she did with the divorce. Maybe she got away really well. That's why she's
Maybe, yeah.
going non for profit.
Exactly. As part of my philanthropic pursuits now. Like,
Yeah.
wow. Because I've kept you for so long, so let's wrap this up. And this is a section called crazy questions. So I have 249 questions. I had 250, but I deleted one by accident. Haven't replaced it. So you pick a number and I'll read you the corresponding question. Then we'll do a few of those.
69.
69. Okay. What's the closest you've ever come to being arrested?
Um, Probably, I guess in high school, we were at a party at someone's house. We all got in a car to go to the Max Milk, like not too far away. Probably not the smartest decision in the world, but there was like bongs in the back and stuff like that. And then we got back to the party and parked the car and everything, and like went into the house, and a bunch of cops came with us and threw us all on the hoods of the cars. And yeah, I got put in handcuffs and driven
Wow.
back home. And luckily I wasn't driving or anything, and nothing, I don't think anything ever happened to anybody that was there. But I remember getting driven home, and my dad was staying at his girlfriend's place that time, so he wasn't able to answer the door. So the cop was just kind of like, don't do it again. And I literally got a free ride home, and it like,
Oh
oh,
my.
it just sort of like worked out.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, could you pick another number, please?
Yeah. 99.
99. Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Slow walkers.
The walkers.
I hate it. I heard somebody tell me once that being a fast walker means you don't have confidence, and I'm like, no, that means I have places to be. I don't want to waste my time.
Meandering.
Yeah, I don't want to be walking. Get me there so I can sit down. Or you know what? Actually, I'm gonna also say the second YouTube ad. Holy shit, does that ever piss me off? It was like you can skip ahead after 5 seconds, and then the second one you got to watch the
Oh yes, it's like
30-second
right
ad.
after.
I like shake the screen. Like, you're already stealing my data. Let me watch my
Exactly.
stupid self-help video or whatever the hell.
I got premium for
Joe
that
Rogan
because
stuff.
I can't with the
Get sick of
too
it.
many ads.
It was worth it. I've been looking at it,
Yes,
like
it's
from a
worth it.
distance, like, oh, that looks
Yeah,
good.
it's worth it. The $12 is worth it. Okay, let's do another one.
24.
24 or 44?
24.
24, okay. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Hmm. I guess well, comedy wise or just anything?
Anything, any, whichever, any, in it from any aspect of your life.
I guess there's one I can think of one time. I guess, I'll do two real quick. The one time Jeremy Hotz was at Ottawa Yucks and he was in a competition. He's like, I don't know if you're going to win, but you should keep doing it. That was really good. And that's all he said.
Yeah,
And that's all I needed to say.
yeah,
And
it's
I that
awesome.
lit a fire under my ass for like still, and
Yeah,
it makes me want to work harder, and it
of
makes me a little
course.
ashamed of any time that I took it easy and didn't go for it or
Mm,
took a break or whatever. And then the second, I guess, would just be just someone I really enjoyed chatting with them, and then they told me the same thing at the end of the conversation. They're like I don't want to leave the like I've been really enjoying chatting with you tonight, or kind of thing, and just
yeah,
I hope we get a chance to talk again, sort of thing.
yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
we ever really did, but and which is fine. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, I just remember it was nice thinking, like I thought the same thing, and it was just nice to not think I was just like chatting their ear off and like talking about myself the whole time. Cause sometimes I'll feel like that. I'm like,
Yeah, I feel like that too. Yeah.
did I just like smother them a little bit with all my stories or whatever and dominate
Yeah.
the conversation? Selfish and not a good conversationalist. So I would probably say something like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. So let's do one more.
One more. The number 8.
Number 8. What food do you dislike the most and why?
Oh, this is tough actually because I find as I get older, the things I'll like, I'll give you an example, like cilantro. I used to be one of those people that thought it tastes like soap. And same with like mushrooms. I used to hate mushrooms and pickles too. But slowly over the years, like I'll like, bite into a McDouble or something, realize I didn't ask for them to take the pickle off, and I'll get a massive chunk of pickle and I'm not gonna spit it out. That's my so,
You're like,
I'll
"Bah!"
eat it. Yeah, exactly. But it's so weird. It's like it's almost like somebody you have a crush on, but they're toxic and you can't get them out of your head. I'll think about that cheeseburger and I'll be like, you know what? The pickle wasn't that bad. I'll be thinking about it like months later, and then I'll get a craving for the pickle.
Really?
And now I can eat pickles on sandwiches and burgers. And it's if let's like my girlfriend can eat them right out of the jar. I'm not there yet, but a couple of years from now, I might be
You
there.
might be. Wow. 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 Well, thank you so much for
Oh, thanks for having me, Simone.
yeah,
This
this
was
was a lot
great.
of fun. I'm glad you were on board with the conversation and everything. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and you are welcome back anytime you'd like
Absolutely.
to come back. Do you have any shows or anything you'd like to promote before we
Nothing
go?
coming up right now. Honestly, I'm just reworking my sets and trying to decide what direction I want to go. Like I was saying, like if I'm just gonna throw everything out and start fresh or try to stretch into like a 30-40 minute set from what I already had.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, look out for me because yeah, I don't know. I like to. Some people say don't take breaks. I think breaks have always been kind of a little bit refreshing for me, and uh,
Mhm.
I mean it definitely takes a little while to get back in the swing of things, but I really think that living a life outside of comedy is paramount to
Yes.
being relatable, but also for your own sanity.
Yes.
Like there's
Yes.
other things in comedy. You don't need to be depressed to be a comedian. You don't need
No.
to be mentally unhealthy or whatever. Like uh
Mhm.
if you need to take a break, there's nothing wrong with it. And yeah, thanks for having me, Simone. This has
Yeah,
been really fun, and yeah, I hope it's entertaining and a good episode.
it will be. It definitely will be. And I hope I see you soon. Hope I see you at a
Absolutely,
show.
you
At
as
a
well.
show. Yeah.
I gotta come watch.
So thank you again. I'll have Kyle's social media in the show notes. So thank you for watching and we'll see you next time. Bye.